Hello everyone, this is T Baloo making video 2 of the river. In this installment, and this will probably be the last video for a very long time, in this installment I am going to answer 10 questions that have been posed. Earlier this year we sent out pre-reviews concerning the river, and we sent them out to a lot of people, and with those pre-reviews we had a questionnaire that most people didn't even bother to answer, but some people did, thankfully. A lot of people seem to really enjoy the book, but we knew that we were going to do this questionnaire, and we knew that we were going to do videos like these in order for viewers to get to know the book, and to also get to know the characters, and so that people could get to know me as well as the characters that I have created. So let's get started. First question, and you know what? And mind you, a few Caniacs have actually asked this question too. Why is Slick's hair blonde? Okay, Slick's hair is shoulder length and blonde to represent his lineage as a Cajun in Louisiana. In my family, in our old photo albums, and if you go to my family's homes, depending on where you go, there could be several, there could be a huge amount, and there could just be one that's probably hidden under somebody's bed or something. But there's one thing that's really particular, and it took my nana Angette to point it out to me when I was very, very young. She said to me, she made this clear. She said, you could always tell the white folks that was very proud of being a part of our family. And she said, because you could tell by how long the hair is. She said the white folks that didn't want no part of us, they cut the hair off real severe, looking mean. But she said the white men that were glad to have black people in their family, they always let the hair grow long. And with that being said, I always kept that in mind whenever I visualized Slick through the years. Also, too, keep in mind, Cajun men in Louisiana are very hardworking men. A lot of them usually work in the shrimping industry, in the carpentry industry. They usually work on farms as field hands or sharecroppers, especially during that time. So, working in the sun and having hair that long, your hair is going to become bleached by the warm hot sun of Louisiana. So if you would look in our photo album, specifically the photo album of my Angette, because out of all the photo albums I looked in, she had the most pictures. Just a really great spectrum of my whole entire family, and her photo album was huge out of all of them. I was really shocked to see so many white men with long blonde hair, and I'm like, is these Norwegians? Oh, is they from Switzerland? They're not Cajun. And she's like, shut the hell up, child. She's like, these are Cajuns. They just be out in the sun a long time. And I'm like, the sun don't do all that, Nana. But sure enough, as I got older, the sun does bleach your hair, and it's a phenomenon that's usually seen in surfers. A lot of you guys who love surfing as a sport, as a spectator sport, a lot of those guys, black and white men, depending, it doesn't really matter concerning hair texture. The sun will bleach your hair, combined with the seawater and sweat and having fun and everything else. It will bleach your hair. So that's why Slick has a shoulder length, very nicely cut, long blonde hair. It wasn't meant to feminize him. I hope that's not what people thought, because Slick is a man's man. But I wanted to really stick true and really stay true to the Cajun roots, and really, give a shout out to the white people in my family that were proud to have black family members, and that were actually proud to be a part of our family, most definitely. The second question that I got from a pre-review reader, is Sally Kelly's maid or assistant? And actually, that's a really good question. I really understand where the confusion comes from, most definitely. But in order to really fully understand in order to understand that question, you have to understand the relationship between Sally and Kelly. Sally is in the book is a young black woman, who's actually modeled after my Aunt Jet, of course. Holla, God bless you, Aunt Jet, in heaven. She's modeled actually after my Aunt Jet. She's a black woman. She's actually Sally's maid. And mind you, Sally is actually Kelly's maid. Excuse me. Sally has no problem saying that in the book. As you read, she's very cut and dry. She's like, "I'm your maid," and I don't know why the hell you continue to say I'm an assistant, because I wear this uniform, woman, and this is who I am. But Kelly, being who she is, and she loves Sally so very very much. You have to read the book and you have to understand Kelly's background. She's an uber rich white woman, very progressive, very liberal, and a sidebar. I hate that word. People use it like it's a disease, like it's a bad thing to be nice to people. But anyway, I digress. She's very, very progressive, and she loves Sally because Sally is her friend. And Kelly doesn't have that many friends. When you're that wealthy and you have such a big mouth, and you shove your weight around, and you throw your weight around like Kelly does, in order, she's a woman. She loves being a woman. She loves frilly things. She loves beautiful things. She is a lady's lady. But she's in a man's world, in the deep South, mind you. So she has to throw her weight around, and a lot of people don't like that. So Sally is one of her. I think in the book, in all honesty, Sally has to be her closest friend, to be completely honest with you. So I call them spirit sisters, and they call themselves spirit sisters. That's how their energy comes across. They love and care for each other. So therefore, Kelly likes to use the word assistant because she feels maid is very condescending. Whereas Sally doesn't really mind. Sally's like, "I'm your maid." You need to say the word maid to set some boundaries, Kelly. But Kelly's very much like, "Nope. Use my spirit sister, and you will be my assistant because you go with me everywhere, and I love you bunches, bunches, bunches." But I can definitely understand where that question actually comes from, because in the book, that line between employer and employee is really, really blurred, and it's blurred. It's blurred for a number of reasons, which everyone will find out in book 2, concerning Kelly's background as a murderess. Yes, exactly. Yes, as a serial murderess. That line has been blurred purposely, because I really want these two women, to have a very, very close relationship, a relationship that inspires other women readers out there to say, "You know what? I have a girlfriend that I'm really close to. She's not necessarily my blood sister, but she's closer than most of my family. That's my spirit sister." Just like Sally and Kelly, most definitely. So yeah, Sally is Kelly's maid. But Sally doesn't like that word. Not at all. She doesn't like it. And I also feel that she feels that word places a distance between them that Kelly doesn't necessarily want to be there. Because Sally is basically all that she has other than Slick in the world, to really love her and care for her and appreciate her for who she is. Murderous and all. Most definitely. Third question: why does Kelly want Sally to turn into a murderer? That's the third question, and another really good question. In the book, if you've read The River, and a few of you that are actually seeing this video probably have, so you can actually relate. Kelly is a very complicated character, though she is very, very forthright in how she feels, in her womanhood, in her understanding of her strong, powerful womanhood. I would go as far as saying Kelly is the ultimate feminist before, after the woman's, because you have to understand, Kelly's a flapper, and being a flapper back in the Roaring '20s. You are naturally a feminist because flappers went against everything that men thought women should be. Flappers were not demure. They drank as much as they want. They smoked cigarettes. They smoked hashish cigarettes. They had sexual partners. Basically, they had tons and tons of fun. Whereas most men back in the day thought that they should just shut the hell up and have children and just be quiet. So understanding that about Kelly, you then, and then also understand she is a killer. In book one, Slick is Kelly's fourth marriage. I don't go too far in detail in book one concerning the marriages prior to Slick. I saved that for book two. But Kelly, I'm just gonna spill the beans. I think I already did. Kelly is a murderer, and she is a perfect mate for Slick. Think about it. The book I'm speaking about is about vigilante killers. So two killers meet each other. Slick, of course, is a bloodthirsty, boy. Even though we love him, we adore him, he's bloodthirsty. Let's be honest. He's bloodthirsty. He's a killer. And his mate, she's the same exact way, except she does it exactly. We also go into, book one also goes into Sally's past and how painful it was. Specifically one episode with her uncle. And I'm not going to give the uncle's name. I'm not going to give away too much tea of the book. But there was a telling of why of her uncle came to the Deep South from up north. He was murdered because white people felt that he was too proud, and some racist white people got a hold of him, and they murdered him. And it's really been on Sally's soul for a very, very long time. And when you love someone so much as Kelly loves Sally, you want the very best for them. And Kelly, being as close to Sally as she is, she sees that pain in her eyes. She sees that pain in her heart. She probably even hears that pain in her voice. And the best way to get rid of that pain, especially in Kelly's world, because you have to understand, this woman, between right and wrong has been blurred. Whenever you kill someone, that line that's there for all of us, it blurs instantly. That's the ultimate sin. Ultimate sin, in my belief. That's the ultimate sin. You don't take life. That line has been blurred, and vigilantism it's for Kelly. It's an instant remedy to take care of all that pain that Sally has inside her heart, just to get rid of it. So, again, not to give away too much in the book, but they invite over Vanessa and the McLaren sisters, and things kind of turn awry. But to answer your question, I think Kelly wants to turn Sally, not develop Sally's taste for blood, because Kelly wants Sally to feel complete. She wants her to feel whole. And vigilantism, for Kelly, is the best way to do that, most definitely. Fourth question. Does Slick regret being a womanizer? And why doesn't he stop? Well, that's a pretty good question, too. Does Slick regret being a womanizer? Why doesn't he stop? In all honesty, I think Slick loves Kelly. Kelly is his first love. Out of all the women that Slick has ever been with, and there have been many, I say in the book, he has slid between the soft thigh. He has slid between more soft thighs than a preacher has sermons. And out of all those lovers, Kelly is the one that he connects with. So, loving someone that intensely as Slick loves Kelly, then yes, I do believe that he regrets being a womanizer, but I think it's a compulsion. It's compulsive, especially concerning his lifestyle. In book one, I give the impression that Slick is away on business a lot. He's away for months at a time, doing what he does, doing blood work, getting out there and searching for contracts. Contact him, and also too, do understand this. and a lot of people, a lot of readers have not considered this. Being a vigilante killer or being a hired gun, you can't just kill somebody and then go back home. You have to, it's the scene is hot. The time is hot. In between killing someone and I would say about a month and a half after, that time is hot. Retribution can happen anytime. And that's one of the reasons why Slick, I'm actually going to stress that in book 2, at least give one scenario. Whereas he kills someone, and then he kind of floats around a little bit. Of course, he leaves that town. He leaves the vicinity of where the crime took place. Him and Benjamin, but they kind of float around a little bit. Maybe they go to another state, or like if they're in Mississippi, they'll go to St. Louis. But they don't go directly home because you never know if you're being tailed. And of course, Slick does not want he does not want to pit Sally. Neither Benjamin and Slick, they don't want to pit Sally and Kelly in harm's way. Of course not. So, understanding his lifestyle, understanding that he was always on the road, really all the time, him and Benjamin both. And there's sometimes whereas they don't really work together. And in fact, at the very beginning of the book, we understand that Slick hadn't seen his brother in, I believe, 3 months. Exactly. But there's a scene in the book, whereas it's a love scene between, an erotic scene. No, a love scene between Kelly and Slick. And Slick is about to make love to his beloved wife, and she's in her boudoir, her powder room. And, of course, Kelly gives him a hard time because she loves playing hard to get to her man, being as gorgeous and beautiful as Slick is. And doing the act of wonderful lovemaking, Slick has that pain in his heart, a pain of regret. And he's very much like, what did I do to be blessed with you? My God, you're just perfect for me. What did I do? And it seems like with each thrust, with each understanding of Kelly's sweet flesh, with each, innuendo of love in those beautiful moments, he has that pain of regret, of understanding that he's not a good man, that he doesn't deserve her, that she does deserve better. So in that moment, and I hope and pray that I got that across in that moment, but also too, understand that Kelly has her little boyfriends on the side too. And in book 2, we meet Diego, which is her Latin lover. So that both of them, they have a relationship of convenience, of course. But why doesn't he stop? He doesn't stop because it's a compulsion. And I mean, I don't know many adulterers, but in a way I can kind of understand. You're away from, you're leading a lifestyle that is just very, very out there. So, society rules don't really apply to you. And but I do know Slick loves Kelly immensely, and he loves his family. But he's just a man's man, and unfortunately, men like him, that's what they do. 5th question. Is Miss Lawley a murderess, and did she kill the 12 girls? Wow, I like that. Is Miss Lawley a murderer, and did she kill the 12 girls? In the river, there's a sideline mystery. Of course, as I told you in video 1, the river, there's a main mystery. Of course, the main mystery that is going to be the mystery that's going to be headlined probably in all of the volumes. But there's always these small little sideline mysteries that are just as epic. And in book 1, I kind of tail off on it in book 1, and I don't really mention it, but it does get mentioned again. At the very end of book 2, it picks right back up. There is a murderer who's murdering girls. And of course, let's give Miss Lawley's history. Miss Lawley, for those of you that have not read the book, Miss Lawley is a black woman. She is the madam of the most exclusive brothel in South Carolina, called Miss Lawley's Ladies. And her brothel is so exclusive. It's so beautiful. In book 1, I tried to make sure that I gave as much scenery and as much. I tried to make sure that I took the viewer inside that parlor room when Slick and Benjamin first walk into that brothel. I wanted the reader to go right there in the brothel with them. And I tried to give as much scenery as I could. The beautiful rugs, the Lalique vases, the Chippendale furniture, the French Baroque details all around, the silk and satin, scarlet red wallpaper, which, by the way, is made of real embroidered silk. It's just wealth and richness and gaudiness and decadence all around you, all around those boys when they first walked into Miss Lawley's brothel. So she is an incredibly successful a black woman in a day where there were not many, and she is success. She's one of the first that was and is, because Miss Lawley is actually based on a real woman, that was and successful in what would be considered a white man's business, or basically a man's business, and that's even true today. There are not too many women in the world that own brothels. I think there are actually a few high known, and they've been in headlines, whatever. But back in the day, that was completely unheard of. Absolutely. Miss Lawley comes across in the book as very callous, loving, caring about her girls, caring about their health, about their bodies, and making sure that they look great for their clients. A lot of their clients are incredibly wealthy men from all over the world. So Miss Lawley makes sure that these girls have no diseases, that they're well taken care of, that they're well pampered. In fact, each girl has one or two assistants, depending on how important she is to the brothel. Some girls actually have up to 3 assistants to assist them. But Miss Lawley really takes care of these girls. So giving that background about her, in the book I kind of lead on that she may have had something to do with the murderers, but I think I can actually give that away that she didn't, because in book 1 I lead away from her concerning that sideline story. No, she may have put women in harm's way to get murdered. And mind you, I think she did that unintentionally. In fact, I know she did that unintentionally, because that would not be a good business decision for Miss Lawley to pit any of her girls. She invests too much money in them. No, she did not murder those 12 girls. I think she did put those girls in harm's way. I think one thing that Miss Lawley could actually do, and I think she needs to vet her clients a lot more. Just because a man walks in with a big wad of cash doesn't necessarily mean that he is a good human being. I think she needs to vet her clients a lot more. And I think I'm going to come up with a really comical scene in book 2 where she actually does that, and a guy kind of gets irate about it. But I think she's put these girls in harm's way, but completely unintentionally. Question 6, is Kelly's special friend the devil himself? That's a really good question too, as well. Is Kelly's special friend the devil? No, not at all, not at all. To give some background about Kelly. Well, first and foremost, I want to let everyone out there that has not read The River know that The River of course it's a crime story. It is a mystery. It's a suspenseful story. A little bit of erotica, explicit erotica is in there. But it's also a story with a lot of supernatural overtones and undertones. Just a lot of supernatural flavor. I told one interviewer a while back, Southern folklore would not be Southern folklore if there was not a little bit of hoodoo, a little bit of voodoo, and a little bit of magic mixed all in between. You got to understand, people, we're in the Deep South, and in Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana. The Deep South would not be the Deep South if it did not have those spiritual bonds concerning black people and white people, and the mixing of those religions. It wouldn't be the Deep South, basically, if it didn't have so many spiritual understandings of self. You're deep in the deep south. You're deep in voodoo country. You're deep in hoodoo country. You're deep in root work country. You're deep in the region of the United States where root work and natural magic, and all of those African-based esoterical practices took place, and they took place for hundreds of years. So that being said, is Kelly's friend is not the devil himself. Of course not. Kelly's friend is actually a mixture of an African god called Ishu and another African god by the name of Papa Legba. Ishu and Papa Legba are African gods that are gods of the crossroads, and I try in the book to give honest explanations that are complimentary and that are very that really explain, that don't patronize these wonderful African religions and this entity. It doesn't patronize. I love like for instance the American Horror Story that dealt with Mary Laveau. I love that show, and I love that they spotlighted her. But I felt that it was kind of patronizing to the African god that she dealt with concerning her very, very long life. It was very patronizing, and but I can understand why that had to happen. So no, this god, he's not the devil. He's just an African god that kind of grew up with Kelly. To give a small backstory about that, without giving too much away, Kelly's parents, when she was very, very young, I would say around about 5 or 6, they went to Africa, and her father was one of the first Americans to go there looking for precious gems such as diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. And Kelly, to make a long story short, Kelly was hexed by an evil village priest, and a good witch doctor, a lady witch doctor, basically, when Kelly was sick and was on death's door, took the little child, blessed her, and performed a ritual. But in that ritual, Kelly had attached to her a form of African guardian, and that's who her special friend is. And in book 1, I never give his name, but in book 2, you actually get to know his name, so you can actually research about him and then understand exactly who and what this African god is. But I just wanted to be very to kind of give a full flavor of a supernatural flavor to this book, and have her, and then also give another aspect of her personality and her spirituality. So no, he's not the devil. He is an African god that has grown up with her through the years. Question number 7: and he's a very, very close confidant. Wow. In book 2, I actually kind of give a better and a more a better explanation of Kelly's backstory. In book 1, I really didn't want to get into the murky depths of Kelly's dark personality or her past concerning her past marriages, specifically because I wanted the reader to like Kelly. I mean, Kelly is incredibly likable. She's a sweet-hearted woman. She's a kind-hearted woman. She loves her staff. She grew up around black people. She's just a really great human being that stands. She's basically the female version of Slick, except she's kinder and gentler and sweeter. And she's a lady. I didn't want to get into her murderous background, because I wanted people to like her. If I would have started the book out first and foremost giving Kelly's full background concerning all of her marriages and how her husbands, something mysteriously or may not mysteriously had happened to them, and all the same thing happened. It all happened in the same way. People would have formed an opinion about her, and I didn't want that to happen. I really wanted people to like her and really, really get to know her, as a character, and to really concentrate on her relationship with Sally and how much they care about each other and how much they're going to depend on each other throughout the books in order to really, in all honesty, survive and and how they're both going to evolve as people and as individuals. Did Kelly kill her first husbands? Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I think I've already given it away. Yes, Kelly did kill her first husbands. I will in book 2 I do go into it. But I don't really give that much of a backstory about it. I think I can give a backstory here because the backstory is going to be in book 2, but I think it's safe to give it here. Kelly, like most women, like most inexperienced women, they have, you attract, if you start out in life sheltered and protected as she once was, you have a tendency to attract the wrong type of man. And each time, Kelly, being fabulously wealthy in her own right, attracted men that did not treat her with respect and with dignity. And those husbands, they were all abusive. One husband, and I think in book 2, I'm going to go into it. I really didn't go into it in book 1, but book 2, you're really going to see the instances in one with which as one husband went about basically brutalizing her and dehumanizing her. And I think that was her first husband, and she done away with him in a way that that nobody really suspected that she did it, and it became a trend from there. But yes, she did kill her first husbands. But again, one of the reasons why I didn't talk about it in the first book is because Kelly, her character is so dynamic and it's so multi-layered, and I really want the reader to bother to peel back those onion layers. And layer after layer, you really get to know who she is, and you really begin to understand her logic behind there. Okay, in real life, there's no logic behind murder, but as a literary character, there has to be some logic behind every single action a character takes, so that that character becomes absolutely believable to that reader. And I really wanted the reader to peel back those layers and really understand why she does what she does. And yeah, but so yes, she did kill her husbands, but she had a reason to do so. Question number 7, is Sally going to marry Benjamin? Sally going to marry Benjamin? In book 1, you know what, to answer that question actually, I can't answer that question outright, because that is a major storyline concerning book 2 and book 3, and I know it's going to be a major storyline in book 3 from what I'm getting from the boys already inside my head and in my spirit. So can't really give that away, but I can say that in book 2, Sally and Benjamin will be having a child, a little girl. Let's give let me give a little backstory about Benjamin and Sally's background. They don't have a long relationship, of course, like him and Slick, or of course Kelly. Sally was actually hired by Kelly through recommendation from Benjamin, but in book 1 you find out that oh Lord, you find out. It's not funny. You find out that Sally had to do something, something freaky. What's that saying? She had to do something nasty for a little change. Something strange for a little change. And we're all introduced to Sally, not necessarily in that way, but we understand, the reader then understands that Benjamin and Sally have a caring relationship. They care about each other, but we also know about Benjamin's history, him being a killer, a vigilante killer, being a hardcore womanizer. So I really don't want the reader to take anything he says seriously to Sally concerning love. Actually, I do want the reader to, because if you read the book and you get into Benjamin's essence, you begin to understand that he's a lot like his half brother. He loves intensely, he loves Sally just about as much as he loves killing, basically the same way that Slick loves Kelly. you understand that he loves this woman. And I even say in the book that if he would ever want to tie the knot down, if he would ever want to be free of his loose ways, Sally would be the first and only woman he would ever tie that knot with. So I do give that away in the first book, most definitely. Is he marriage minded? I don't think so. Is Sally marriage minded? Of course she is, but I don't think she's marriage minded to Benjamin. I think Sally is very, very comfortable with her life with Kelly. She lives a wonderful lifestyle with a woman who really loves and cares for her. And remember, you have to. Kelly, of course, is a flapper woman. So I would think some of that personality and some of that outlook on life, that really strong feminist understanding of self, has rubbed off on Sally somewhat. I mean, I really think it has rubbed off on her. So is she marriage minded? I think, in my mind, understanding her and Kelly as, they're girls, as girly girls, they're girly girls, they're girls. I think she would want to marry Benjamin. Of course she would. She finds him incredibly. Benjamin is freaking gorgeous. He is absolutely stunning. And not only that, he's a great lover. He's a really good provider. He's a great personality. He has a wicked sense of humor. He's an all-around great guy. The only thing that's the only bad thing about Benjamin, only drawback, if you can call it that, and it is a huge one, is that he killed folks. So to answer the question, is Sally going to marry Benjamin? I don't know. I know they're both marriage minded. I know they both, in the books, they have a lot of living to do. I think certain circumstance. I know, now mind you, I know Slick wants Benjamin to marry Sally. I do know that. But as far as both being, linked up together, they have a whole lot of growing to do as characters. A whole lot of growing up to do. Not really growing up, but a whole lot of changing. And a whole lot of... They need to get to know each other more on
Where
that level,
exactly did Sally and Kelly bury the McLaren sister?
Oh my God, you guys are so funny with these questions. Oh wow. Okay. To give a little backstory of this question, of those of you that have not read The River. The McLaren sister, Vanessa McLaren, specifically, was the woman responsible for Sally's uncle's demise. A few years ago, well before Sally ever met Kelly, when she was a young little girl, and I think I talked about this a few moments before, her uncle was visiting, I believe, from Chicago. And we also find out in the book that her uncle was gay. Dapper, beautiful black man, a lot of pride, great appearance. Came down to the South to visit Sally and the family just for a holiday, and just to have a really great time. And as soon as he got off the train, a white man spit on his shoes, and I mean, he has so much pride and just feeling really great to see his family. And he was immediately accosted with the humdrum, the deadly humdrum of Jim Crow, most definitely. So 3 days later, her uncle was in a grocer's, and he passed by Vanessa. Now, Vanessa is a known man-eater. And in book 1, when all the girls are sitting down when Kelly's friends are sitting down in front of McLaren's friends, and on the left, you have, really progressive women who understand people, who want to get to know everybody. Really great women. On the right, you have very conservative women. All of them are racist in one way or another. And we learn from that little cocktail party, especially when Gilda, she slams down her 15-karat diamond ring and said, "Yes, bitch, I'm ready." But that was a pretty epic moment in the book. But to make a long story short, in that scene, which was completely orchestrated by Kelly, Sally kills Vanessa McLaren right there, just slashes her throat. And Somehow, some way, they did away with the body. And of course, in book one, there is the officers come around and they come around asking questions. One in particular that Kelly takes a liking to, and but as far where did they bury Vanessa McLaren's body? I do say in the book that they bury her. I give hints that they bury her under a rose bush that may or may not be in the back of Kelly's estate. I also give hints that they may have buried her in Gilda's rose garden in the back of her huge vast estate. Remember Gilda, for those of you who read the book, she came in into this huge soiree, very conservative, very deep south, and she's a Jewish woman, and came in and wearing this wonderful Chanel custom-made ensemble. I mean, she was just the peacock of all peacocks. She's beautiful. I think she was probably wearing more diamonds than has ever been mined by mankind, just sparkling and sprinkling, and her hips are swaying. And she turned around and she waved her hands in the air and she says, "Now the party can begin, folks." And that was pretty epic, but I'm getting off subject. I digress. I give hints where the woman's body is buried. I never ever give away completely. But also, too, I leave a big question about that because it's going to be a cliffhanger about that in book 3. And so I really can't tell you where Vanessa McLaren's body is buried. Because her body may not actually be buried at all. Question number 10. Why does Kelly's special friend hate Benjamin and Slick so much? I think when the question is pertaining to Kelly's spiritual guardian, the African god that befriended her when she was a very young girl, when she was being healed by the African witch doctor. When her parents were mining for precious stones. Why does Kelly's special friend hate Benjamin Slick so much? To be honest with you, I don't think that particular entity, I don't think he hates Slick and Benjamin so much as whereas I think he just wants to keep Kelly safe. You have to understand, this deity has been with Kelly, as with all deities, if they were in human form. And imagine a deity that knows all things, that understands all things, that has knowledge well beyond the vast reaches of man's conception of time, and he sees that a human being that he's protecting, that he's been with for so very long, she's now linked up to this murderous bad boy, this murderous playboy, and of course, he would take offense to that. If he was human, I think he would take offense to that. If he was Kelly's brother, I think he would take offense to that. To be honest with you, anybody who would be Kelly's relative, unless they were murderers themselves, I think they would take offense with Kelly marrying Slick and being linked to Slick in any way, shape, or form. Think about it. You yourself. If one of your sisters or brothers married a serial killer or a killer for hire, wouldn't you be offended by that? I definitely would. I would be at the wedding when the preacher would ask if any of you would like to say. I'm like, you don't even have to finish that question. Look at here. I am going to come to drag your ass out of this wedding because you will not be marrying him or her today. Come on. Get out here. I am going to tie you and pitch you up under the house till you come to your senses. I would not, no. I would, no. So I can definitely understand where this entity comes from. He wants to keep Kelly safe. He's been with her for very, very long. And then, think about it. He's a god, so he can probably. I don't relay that in book 1, but I'm thinking in my literary mind that he probably can see well into the future and see circumstances that may or may not happen that may not be very beneficial for Kelly, and because Slick is who he is. But also too, being a deity, in book 2. I give a little bit more of a backstory to that, which is incredibly interesting. I'm not going to give that away, but we soon begin to find out that that deity has a very close link to Benjamin and Slick, a very supernatural link. I will drop a hint. He has about a deeper link to those boys than he actually has to Kelly. And that's the reason why. That was a sugary hint. This is a honey hint. But that was a good hint. But in book 1, he doesn't want Kelly to get hurt. He knows what Slick does and what Benjamin does, it offends him. This is a God that relishes love and relishes life. He relishes the great things that are of creation. You know, he is a part of all of creation that is good and wonderful. He doesn't want Kelly to be linked up with a person that represents what he feels is darkness. You know, as much as we love our boys, they kill people, and he doesn't want Kelly to be linked up with that. So, but I think that's one of the reasons. I know that's one of the reasons why he doesn't like Benjamin or Slick. And in book 2, it's going to be a real showdown fight in between him and them, which is going to be incredibly interesting. So stay tuned for that, definitely. Last but not least, this is the bonus question sent in by Thomas. Thank you very much, Thomas, out of LA. Hopefully I will be seeing you very, very soon if all works really, really well. If all goes well. So, and thank you again. Will there be more of a supernatural element in the forthcoming books? Yes, there will be. There was small sprinklings of the supernatural in book 1. The River is a crime novel. It's a multi-genre type of novel. It touches on several different genres, as most books actually do. But I tried to shy away from the supernatural element only because I wanted the characters to be believable. And when you mix supernatural and crime, whenever you mix supernatural in any aspect, in any novel whatsoever, no matter what main genre it fits in, it kind of takes away it makes it unbelievable. You know, it does not make it as believable as without, the supernatural element. But I had to add some magic to it. I had to add some of the legacy that's actually part of my own personal family, with doing root work and understanding Southern mysticism and understanding the African-derived esoteric arts that have been passed along in my family for hundreds of years. I actually had to involve that because that's a part of my history, and that's actually a part of the Deep South. All along the Mississippi Delta, there's folklore concerning a vast amount of folklore, a vast amount of legends, all types of legends dealing with the occult and spirituality, and all of that wonderful stuff. So yeah, there will be more of a supernatural element in book 2. But as always, I'm going to use it sparingly. I don't want to take away from... I don't want to keep the book from being believable. So my job as a writer is to find a way to take those elements that are just so fantastic and so and just really, really just like wow. And my job is to make sure that those elements, to weave them in really, really well into reality, so that the reader won't be bumped out of reality. It's like, damn, that doesn't even sound real. Like, because you can't, a reader is reading along and all of a sudden something mystical happens and it has to feel real. It has to feel as if it fits. If it doesn't feel real, if it doesn't feel like it fits, then you jar that reader out of that experience for that moment. And sometimes they'll put the book down, and sometimes you never get that moment back. So I want to keep that from happening. That was the last of the questions. Thank you very much to everybody who sent in questions from the previews. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the Wolfpack, my adopted mom, as well as Jim. Thank you to all the Caniacs that have shown your support. Thank you to Daniel Sanjata, and thank you, of course, to the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christian Kane. I kind of lamented onto. I'm sorry. Um, Thank you to everybody for all of your support. Thank you to all the readers. If you do want to send in questions concerning questions that I can answer concerning the books in future videos, please leave them at the email address below. Also, too, keep in mind, once you pick up the book concerning the reader, once you pick up the book on Amazon or any retail outlet, please leave a comment if you enjoyed the book. Commenting is like tipping in restaurants. You would not get up from a table without a tip for your waiter. Do not close a book without leaving a comment for the writer. Thank you everyone for listening, and this has been an incredible experience. I hope to be doing many, many more videos talking to you guys, and I will be talking to all of you very soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.